Welcome back, everyone. Our next lecture is titled Androids. What else? Androids Dreaming. Please welcome Christina.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me here at BalCCon. I'm really glad to be here again. I've been a few times. The last time was 3 years ago. That was in 2022, and my talk was about a topic that was kind of related to what I'm talking about today. It was about digital connectedness and well-being under conditions of the pandemic. And today, again, I will talk about what it means for us as humans to live in a digital world. But today I will focus on another aspect, on our memories. So, let's get started. At the end of the sci-fi classic Blade Runner from 1982, the android Roy Batty says just before he dies, "I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhäuser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die." It's one of the most quoted science fiction monologues of all time. But the fact that we have heard it dozens of times doesn't take away its weight. Just moments before his life ends, Roy Batty asks us to imagine what it feels like to watch a lifetime of experience, vivid, unrepeatable, only yours, vanish with you. Why does this scene matter? It shows us that a record is a poor translation of living. The facts are okay, the facts can be recorded. Events can be stored as text, as photos, as videos. But even if someone had followed Roy Batty with a camera, what would have remained? A record of light, of sound, maybe of names and dates. Rudimentary, incomplete, and two-dimensional. A poor translation of living. The richness of life, the smells, the amazement, the terror, the feeling of watching something vast and impossible would still disappear with him. And that, I think now, is the danger of our own time. Not only that we might lose our moments when we die, but that we might miss them in real time while they are still happening. We live in a time obsessed with making things permanent. Everything can be stored, so we try to store everything. We take photos before we taste our food. We record concerts we barely hear through the tiny microphones of our devices. We narrate vacations in real time for an imagined audience who is meanwhile scrolling somewhere else. And in the moment, we tell ourselves, "This way I'll remember." But we don't notice that in recording, we might already be missing the thing we are trying to save. Smell, texture, the silence before someone speaks. The flow that we feel when we get lost in an activity, or the differences in perception when two people witness the same situation. In recording, we are only growing and feeding an archive that we will possibly never look at again. And the archive is heavy. I've seen this from several angles. As a medical doctor, I have watched people hold up phones in hospital rooms to record moments of grief or last words, or even the birth of a child, as if capturing them in pixels could hold the experience still against time. As a technology consultant, I have had to design systems that were meant to preserve everything forever. Every click, every message, every blurred photo filed away just because we can. Because we think permanence equals meaning. And as a writer, I notice how much of life doesn't survive in the record anyway. The smell of a room, the strangeness of not knowing what time it is, Things that only stay if you live them fully, not perform them for later. And it's not just that we forget because we rely on devices to remember for us. We also forget because we are less present in the first place. The act of saving interrupts the living. And it doesn't stop there. We spend hours maintaining this immense memory infrastructure. Passwords that slip our memories, links that die, apps that become obsolete, decades of photos scattered across devices we no longer own. We wanted memory palaces in the cloud, but we built cluttered archives instead, for which we pay a lot of rent. And somewhere in this process, machines don't just keep our memories. They start shaping them, predicting what we should want, prompting us what to post, nudging what's worth recording. Slowly, they start deciding what counts as a life well lived. So how do we make space for real lived memory, the kind that Roy Batty had, fleeting but unfiltered, in a digital world that scripts and saves everything? In addition to my work as a doctor and medical informaticist, I'm also a writer. I've published both non-fiction books and novels, and a few years ago I took a 24-month prose writing course at a German institution. 6 of those months were devoted to autobiographical writing or memoir. And during that time, I began to look closely at my own memories, and in particular those from my work as a blockchain and tech consultant during the short, intense crypto startup bubble of 2017 and 2018. It turned out that, maybe not so unexpectedly, my most vivid memories from that period weren't about the actual day-to-day work, which mostly took place online, staring at a laptop. My most vivid memories were from the brief moments when I was somewhere else, traveling to foreign cities to consult with clients or attending conferences. Those moments, though rare, seem to take up far more space in memory than the hundreds of hours I spent typing and clicking. It made me wonder, what kinds of memories does purely digital work generate? And what gets lost when our professional lives are mostly mediated by screens? I started addressing some of these questions on BalCCon 3 years ago, as I mentioned earlier, in my talk, Come Closer, Digital Connectedness and Wellbeing. Anyway, out of those reflections grew a novel, which is still unfinished, with a working title, Android Streaming. In this novel, my protagonist, Ruth, creates a list of 7 rules. Rules for living with machines without letting them claim her inner life. I will explain them briefly. They are reminders more than commandments, and they are meant to protect the parts of us that can't be backed up or controlled. Also, these rules are fluid and under construction, rather than set in stone. They are her way of avoiding the kind of real-time absence that our devices can create. Her way of stopping technology from deciding what is worth feeling, remembering, or dreaming. These rules are not evidence-based in the strictest sense. They don't come from randomized controlled trials or from neuroscience papers about brains on screens. Conducting studies with truly sound methodology on well-being, memory, and presence in the context of digital technology is so difficult. The variables are slippery, the methods are questionable, the results are always partial. So these rules here are not meant to be set in stone. They are suggestions, open to discussion, distilled from direct experience, my experience and that of others I know well, from watching what tech can do to our attention, to our imagination, and to the way we inhabit our own lives. I will say a few words about each of those rules. 1. Don't try to predict the future. Machines are always trying to predict your behavior. Every swipe, every pause, every search is turned into probabilities about what you will do next. Often these predictions are not at all accurate, but we want them to be accurate because we want certainty about our futures. Therefore, we tend to place a lot of trust in them. Maybe instead we should put our trust into our own ability to deal with surprises. 2. Let machines assist you, not command you. Machines should be used to clear your path, not set your direction. Technology is good at making things smoother, faster, lighter. But you should choose your own destination. Machines will often suggest their own rules to you, but if you follow them, you will sooner or later find that they don't match your values or desires. So let devices help you, but don't let them tell you what a good life looks like. 3. Don't dream dreams a machine has made up for you. This is related to the previous one. Machines will offer a lot of borrowed fantasies to you. Recommendation feeds, trend reports, and what everyone else is doing and liking. But dreams that don't come from yourself will not satisfy you in the end. Use technology to make your own visions possible, not to import someone else's idea of meaning or success. Your imagination should be sovereign. 4. Treat machines as replaceable. You can lose them, switch them, discard them. They are not part of yourself. Devices and platforms will try to bind you with sunk costs. Your photos, your messages, your carefully curated profile. But none of these are you. If a tool stops serving you, leave it. Losing a device may feel like losing an arm in the first seconds. But remember that it's only a lifeless thing. 5. Leave some moments unrecorded. Not everything needs saving. Some memories are not meant to be stored. Digital archives promise immortality for our experiences, but in exchange they take away something from these experiences. A sunset that you recorded on video is never the same as a sunset that you truly felt. Try to let some moments vanish so that they can remain private, fleeting, just for you. How much life you lived is not measured in gigabytes. 6. If switching off feels uneasy, switch off anyway. The unease that you feel when your device is not available is a sign that you are bound too tightly. Take a step back. When disconnecting feels impossible, that's exactly the time when you need it most. A machine that makes you afraid to leave is trying to own not only your time, but your mind. See what happens when you turn the screen dark, and remember that the world goes on as it always did. 7. When talking to an AI about anything but facts, remember, you're really talking to yourself. The voice you hear from the AI is not consciousness. It's your own reflection coming back to you. Machines just remix the patterns that we've given them. When you ask an AI about life, love, or meaning, it can only echo back fragments of humanity, of your own and others. And sometimes there's not even a difference between the two. A conversation with the AI might help you think, but so does talking to yourself sometimes. So let me sum this up. Future memories are not built from archives or algorithms. They are the ones we live deeply enough to carry them, even if no device has recorded them, even if they fade. What matters most will not fit on a feed or in a file. It will vanish like Roy Batty's moments in the rain, and that's okay. So now, my closing invitation to you is this. Ask yourselves, when was the last time you decided not to record a moment? Thank you for your attention. For those of you who are interested, I have a few flyers here and copies of my zine in which I explore these ideas further. You can read more on my Substack or talk to me now or find me later here on BalCCon. Thanks.
Are there any questions?
Yes, a simple question about what you said when talking to AI. You talk to yourself, but isn't AI meant to actually act as a human in order to make us talk more? Because, for example, if I talk to myself, I'm going to be bored in like 5 minutes. But if I talk to an AI, I can go for like an hour. I mean, you see, like so how do you deal with this?
Yeah. I try to make those rules short and concise, and I was focusing on one point in this rule, which is that many conversational AIs are trained to be people pleasers. They tell you what you want to hear, and this is the aspect of AIs that I'm talking about here. Of course, you can't generalize that to all AIs, and also. As I said, what comes back is not always just your own personality or your own needs and questions, but also this remix of humanity. Yeah, that's what I meant.
You mentioned as rule number 7 to be careful when talking to AI. You're talking to yourself. Can this actually be more of a positive than a negative, specifically when you want to more clearly represent your own thoughts and or if you maybe want some form of more objective view of something you're thinking about?
Yes, absolutely. It can be positive. You have to know about the capabilities of AI and where those capabilities end and what are the footfalls of using an AI. You have to be familiar with these, and I think all of us here, we are familiar with it. You just have to be careful, and you have to choose carefully what to apply it for. But yes, it can be very much. It can be a very useful tool, also to enhance your own creativity and maybe to use it as something to clear your thoughts, for example. Yes.
Okay, and since you mentioned most of us here are aware of the dangers of AI and using AI as a tool, what do you fear for the future, considering how AI is already being used as a replacement for human contact and just in work and other things, more than it probably should be used?
Yeah, I think the biggest danger is that people are not they are not familiar with the bias inherent in AI, because for most of the popular AIs, we don't really know what training data went into them, and we don't really know the intentions of the people who made them. I know we know the intentions in general, which is to make money, but there can be lots of biases and hidden objectives in them, and we don't see them from the outside. And all of us who are here, we ask these questions, but many people who don't work with technology on a day-to-day basis, they don't really have the time and the headspace to get acquainted with these questions. So they will start using these AIs with a lot of belief. They believe that they give the right answers, and there's a lot of knowledge in them. There is a lot of knowledge in them, but no wisdom and no human experience, which is something that you absolutely can't get from an AI. All of us, our minds are based on our real physical experience. We live in our bodies, and that is something that no AI can recreate. And there's a reflection of experiences of humans in those AIs. It comes through the training data, but there's no physical experience that the AI can have for themselves. They have no desires, they have no instincts, they don't get hungry, And this may sound banal when I say this now, but it's really a very important distinction. An AI or any kind of technical tool can never have desires of their own. They can never be good or bad or something. They are just tools that will do whatever you tell them to do. And that is, I think more people should keep this in mind when using AI.
Thank you very much. Really interesting topic. Any more questions?
Hi, I wanted to discuss about the Rule 5 because I found myself on kind of the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to recording moments, because I only ever record what I find interesting at that moment, but not really meaningful moments like, let's say, a party or such. I just kind of share random thoughts that I have, but I don't really record memories. But I've noticed, here's the interesting bit, that there's like a social pressure to record those important memories, because how could you go without remembering that, this or that? So I think that there's more layers to that problem than just obsessively recording everything. It's more of a, how should I say, societal pressure to keep everyone informed about what you do.
Yes, absolutely, and that's a very interesting point. And also, I like it when people record unimportant moments, and I like it also when people, for example, I like photos of found things or of places that are not impressive, that are just everyday places, because it gives you a feeling for, our life. It doesn't consist only of important moments. It consists of, or you could say, every moment is maybe equally important. And if you just live for the important moments and everything between that, you don't give it any attention, then what is your life? Yeah. And yes, the social pressure aspect is something that I didn't think about much for this talk, but it's true. Also, this desire to be kept up to date about events, for example, without being present, which is a shame, actually. If you are invited to someone's birthday party and you decide not to go and just look at the pictures, you will miss out on a lot of things. Or of course, maybe in the meantime you are doing something else that's equally worthwhile, but then you maybe won't have time to look at the photos. That's one of the tragedies of our life. We always have to decide what to do in our limited time, and we will miss out on some things, and maybe people get the idea that technology is a way to not miss out on things, while I think it makes more sense, and it is more necessary to get acquainted with the idea that you will miss out on things, because our life is limited. But people don't like this, they don't like this, and I don't like this either, but that's the way it is, and we can't hide from this fact.
Right. So basically, we just need to accept the fact that some memories are not to be given out when we are not in the opportunity to get them.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, I would like to add one other little thing. There are other ways of keeping memories fresh and maybe giving them a different shape. Like you can, myself, I sometimes like to write things down, and when I write them down, maybe they are already different in my recollection. And other people who have other talents, maybe they want to draw a sketch of something, and that can also be a good way to record things through your own lens. Yeah, I think here was another, and there was a question. Yeah.
Seems to me that the number one is actually connected to all others. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more?
I didn't get the first part of your question.
So it seems that rule number one is actually connected to all others, actually, because this seems like the most important one. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the relationship with the other rules?
Yeah, I get the impression that we use technology in ways that give us the illusion of security. You know, for example, you use Google Maps, and Google Maps will tell you you will arrive in 7 minutes, and there will be a bit of traffic jam here and there, and you know, there are all kinds of apps that give you some kind of prediction, and I feel we have a psychological need for that, which is why we use these apps to make us feel safe in a world that is not safe. And this, as I said, is an illusion of safety and security. We shouldn't rely too much on that. Yeah. What are your thoughts about that?
Here's a...
Sorry, there was another question.
Oh, okay, sure. I can hold this, I think. Yeah. Thank you. There's a quote that I really like, and I'm forgetting the name of the English professor, but the student asked them, so they said they read like 80 books a year, and then the student asked them how they remember everything that they read, and then the professor said something like, I forget 98% of what I read, but it still made me who I am. And I feel like it's a very unnatural thing to record memories, because humans obviously weren't built to remember everything. It's just this very like unnatural thing, very artificial. And the question is, how do you think this separation that we have when we record something affects our identity and ourselves, how we perceive ourselves, others, how we remember, how we, think about ourselves, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point and a good question. We are not made to remember everything in the same way that we are not made to deal with all the information that we have to deal with today. Maybe that's a similarity. I think our brains are not made to deal with all the information from all places in the world that come in real time. And in the same way, we are not meant to remember everything, because this is one thing that we tend to forget nowadays, that our brains, they have developed over a long time, and they were kind of optimized for some things in this process. And now in the last few decades, we think we can optimize them further with our apps and everything. But I think we are not, we think too highly of our own capabilities to optimize ourselves, because evolution has already done that, and we can make some little tweaks, but not as much as we think. And your other question, what does it do to us and how we perceive ourselves and others? That's a good question. And I will think about it, and maybe it's beyond the scope of this talk, but maybe we can discuss it later. Thank you.
Hi, Christine. Thank you for this talk. I was really looking forward to it, because I believe that this topic inevitably will become the biggest concern for humans in the 21st century, the synchronicity with living with machines. And again, number 7, it's a really great rule. It really got me thinking on the topic of talking to ourselves through machines. How the machine is basically, this is just a thought, I want to bounce it off you. The machine is a mirror. If we're talking to AI, maybe we just need a good friend. If we're always on Instagram, maybe we just need to see our friends more. If we're always on Google Maps, maybe we need to learn how to figure out where we're going. Again, it's just a fresh thought. What are your thoughts in that direction, where the machine is actually just a mirror of what we need to do in our life?
Yeah. I read an interesting analogy recently, but I can't quite remember. But it went something like, we have some natural desires, like we get hungry, and we also get hungry for human connection. And when we get hungry, we can eat something that is nourishing, that is healthy, and has a lot of, I don't know, proteins, vitamins, everything. Or we can go and eat crisps or some junk food. And in relation to our hunger for human connection, we can go out and have real human connection and meet people, and that is sometimes inconvenient, and sometimes we get tired, and sometimes it can even be dangerous depending on your environment, but still this is the thing that really satisfies our appetite. Or we can go and eat a substitute that is safer and more convenient, but also less nourishing, and doesn't really satisfy this hunger. And this is having connections the digital way. They are okay if the real thing is not available, but they are not the real thing, I think. Obviously, we wouldn't miss out on them because we can have connections to people far away, and we are now here on this conference, and then everyone goes home and we will miss the people, and then we will send them an email maybe and be happy to get a reply. And it is a bit of, it's like a substitute, and it can be a very useful substitute, but it's not the real thing.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to talk to you more when we come outside.
Thank you.
Hi. Regarding talking with AI, I want to ask you when we should figure out that it's danger talking with AI. So it's negative point. What is the negative point we should stop talking with AI?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one that I can't answer, because I think with AI, as with a lot of other things, you have to have your own risk assessment, because different people, they have a different tolerance for risk, and there's a certain risk involved. You talk to an AI, and you give it your personal details. Even if you don't mention your name, but you will tell the AI some details from your life, and then ultimately you will be recognizable. And there are other dangers involved also, but still I can't say this is a bad idea, don't do it, because you have your own risk tolerance, and I have a risk tolerance, and every one of us has some kind of risk tolerance, and it's like some of us won't go on a bike without a helmet, and some of us won't go on a bike at all, and some of us do risky sports. But if you're asking about my own risk tolerance, I will use the AI, and when I say AI, I'm now talking about chatbots like ChatGPT, for example, which are proprietary, and I don't know what data they are trained on, and I don't know what they will use my data for. So my personal risk tolerance is I will use it for things like a kind of brainstorming. I give it examples and say, please make some other examples for me, that kind of stuff. But I will not discuss anything with the AI which is personal and would make myself recognizable, even if I don't mention my name or anything. So that's where I draw a line, but I think everyone will draw the line in a different place.
Yes, I mean that not just for personal life, also if another people wants example, if you buy a GPT Premium or something like this, they don't have illegal policies. So you can
if I buy what?
If you buy a Premium from GPT, you don't have limits.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to do something bad, for example, you can ask with tricky part. Ask for an example, and you can use it. And how can we figure out if we should stop or not asking more than than we want.
Yeah. I think regarding
because our brain we go much deeper as you talk with.
Yeah.
Understand.
I think with regard to managing the risk of using AI as a society, I think the key is when we talk about AI, we talk about as if AI were a living being. You know, we say ChatGPT told me this, and ChatGPT thinks that and that, and that don't do that. It's not true. I do it also, but we shouldn't do it. Because it gives us the idea that there's a being talking to us, but that's not. And the problem is in many fields which employ AI is the problem of responsibility. And if you use an AI, it's a tool, as I said, and the tool is never responsible for anything, never, because it can't be, because a hammer can't be responsible for anything. But we forget that sometimes. And for example, if we have an AI that makes a medical diagnosis, the AI will never be responsible, in my opinion. There must always be a human who says, okay, I'm responsible. I know what the AI is doing, and maybe I will not check the details or anything because I don't have the time, but in the end, I am responsible for selecting the AI and for checking that everything goes well and for having a kind of quality control. So there must be a human being for every AI that is deployed. And that is, I think, the only way of going forward and managing this risk as a society. Is that what you... Oh, someone is pointing...
It's perfect. This
okay.
I wanted.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions?
I wanted to ask about Android Reading book. When will be publicly available?
You know, when I was writing it, I wanted to write a novel, but then I started digressing about these things, and then I decided, okay, I have to put all those thoughts that I have about digitalization, I have to put them somewhere else so that the plot can go on, and I put them on this Substack here. I have some flyers here if you want, and now I hope that I am free to finish the book, and it's about 120 pages now, and I hope it will be finished maybe next year. Yeah, we can talk afterwards, and I can tell you when it's done.
Sadly, that's all the time we have for questions. Everyone, please, another applause for Christine.